So we have space for sale, and in this video we're going to be going through if I believe it's worth playing this game. And this is made by a development company that I don't think they've released a game for 5 years now. And their previous game was Little Big Workshop. It was published by a completely different company, but this time around with Space for Sale, they have both developed and published the game themselves. And currently this game is in early access. It's just launched into early access on Steam, and it's going to set you back. Its original price is £17, so about $20, and it's launched with a 20% launch discount. So it's going to set you back about $15 or something like that at the launch, $15, $16. And I didn't know what to expect from this because, based on the notes on Steam for early access, they say that the core concept and the basic gameplay loop is there, but the initial version will be relatively light in terms of content. They want to first tackle and improve the core mechanics and concepts of the game, then expand with more content in the near future. They've said they want to add things like planets, biomes, creatures, projects, new clients. They're also wanting to improve the game balance and polish the game in general. They're expecting to stay in early access for at least 6 months, and they plan to increase the price when they hit 1.0 and they leave early access. And then with the early access, they left an announcement. And they said, today's the day, we're finally releasing the game. It's been years in the making. And they've left, basically short and practical terms for what's currently in the game. So they have one randomized continent on the green planet called Ortica. They have 5 distinct biomes and environment types. There are 4 types of alien clients, each with their own unique assets and needs. There's one special client project involving multiple steps, research projects, and construction sites that you have to complete. There are 2 special events, think something akin to side quests. There are 6 intelligent animals, excluding the critters and decorative creatures. There's a bunch of tools, suits, and gadgets to play around with. And there's replayability through various scenario settings and modifiers. So basically, you can put on modifiers so that everything is hostile towards you. There's a bunch of different ones that you can put on. And then they have things where you can make all the resources on the planet plentiful, or you can make them scarce and things like that. So there's different ways to play the game, but it also says on that announcement, taking a single planet from prospect to sold takes approximately 7 hours, depending on your experience and your chosen settings. So you can basically just stretch this game out, make it last longer if you're enjoying it that much, or you can make all the resources plentiful, make it a lot easier, and make it go quicker than 7 hours. It's entirely up to you how you play this game. And jumping into the game at the very beginning, you've got this little drop pod, you land on this ship, you set up the planet, then you go down to the planet, and you instantly start off with mining some red metal, you get some materials and stuff, you go set up a base, and after that, there's not much that teaches you about the game. It feels as though there's not really a tutorial whatsoever. And on top of that, you've got these question marks that are jotted around the little region that you start in on the map. You go up to them with your scanner, you scan them, you unlock a new building you can place on top of them. Then you build a couple of houses for your clients or whatever, little settlers buildings or whatever you want to call them. Basically houses, you set them up. You're very, very limited to what you can build inside your base. And it just feels as though you're going to be doing the same thing for 7 hours, roughly, however long it takes for you to sort out that planet. And then once you're done, you can start it all over again by just changing modifiers, and that's what they're calling replayability. As they've said, there's not a lot to the game. It's quite light in terms of content, and I totally agree with the time I've spent on the game. And very early on, you can create yourself a buggy you can drive around with. It's really cool. The game looks good. There's a bunch of different flora, fauna. The biomes have their own sort of unique features to them. But there really is not a lot to do in this game. You basically build a couple of buildings inside your base. You go out, you scan places. You put buildings on them areas you've scanned. You've got hot springs that you can place water parks on so that your settlers are happy. And you basically just make progress doing the same thing through the different regions until you've completed that planet, and then it's entirely up to you if you start again or not. So it's a bit of a weird one because there's not a lot that's explained in the game. You've got a codex, you've got some information, about the different creatures and stuff when you scan them. You've got some helpful things in the game to give you a better understanding of it, but not a lot. Basically, they don't explain much whatsoever. I'm not expecting my hand to be held or anything like that at all, but there's also not really a sense of progression. You basically start in the first region, you build up your base, you go around to all the different question marks, you scan them, place buildings on them, then you go to the second biome and you're doing the exact same thing. And it just doesn't ever really feel as though you're actually making any progress. You're literally just moving from region to region, building up the base and moving on. Now, that's not to say it's a bad game, it's just a very weird one. And they've said this is years in the making, but there's barely anything to this game after spending years on it, and it's their first game release in about 5 years, unless they've released games that aren't on Steam or something like that, because I clicked on their actual link to see which games they release and stuff. They made Little Big Workshop. A year later, roughly, they released a DLC for it, and then 4 years after that DLC, they've released this, so it could have been quite a few years they've worked on it, and it's very, very light in content. But I would say they've been incredibly generous, having a 20% launch discount. Games typically have a 10% launch discount. And the game is cool. It's enjoyable, it's relaxing, it's chill, it's just a little bit of a weird one. I would say it's quite niche. You have to really be into a game of this style to enjoy this. And then you also have to enjoy it that much to want to play it again, because all you're doing is starting on a procedurally generated planet again, doing the same thing. Their replayability is if you decide to put on modifiers and change the different amount of resources and stuff you're going to get whilst you're on that planet. So I would personally say grab the game now if you're interested, because they plan to increase the price when they hit 1.0. They've got a 20% discount at launch, so now is a good time to grab the game. But as I said, you've really got to be into a game like this to enjoy it. And you have to enjoy it a lot to want to play it for more than the average expected 7 hours. Personally, for me, I didn't enjoy it that much. I didn't play too much of the game either. It just felt a little bit sort of, I don't even know how to explain it besides saying that the game's weird. It's not a game that I could sink hours and hours and hours into, and if I was to complete a planet and spend 7 to 10 hours doing so, I wouldn't be able to go back and play the game again. There's basically nothing that changes besides the modifiers that you change, and I don't think they're going to offer up enough variety to enjoy a second playthrough. So for me personally, I don't think this game's worth playing. But if you are interested in a game like this, you think you're going to like it, then definitely grab it now. There's nothing wrong with the game. It runs smooth, it looks nice, it plays well. It's just on the weirder side of things and something that I can't see myself enjoying for a long period of time. So do I think Space for Sale is worth playing? For me personally, absolutely not. But it's not a bad game by any means. Some of you are going to enjoy it, but as I said, you've got to really be into a game of this style to enjoy this game thoroughly. I wouldn't say this is really a good sort of entry game into the genre, like this style of game. I think to enjoy this one, you have to really, really enjoy the style of this game in general. But that was a look at Space for Sale, and what we are going to do is leave that video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff about this game in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.